Alright guys, let's check out the coolest samurai I've ever handled. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree with me. But yeah, I'm a fan of white dial divers. And we'll do a side-by-side of that in a moment. But let's talk about this watch. So this is the srpe37. You can see the suggested retail is $595. It's running the movement caliber 4R35. So automatic hand wind, hacking, date only on this with a date magnifier. So I guess we're going to call this one like we call the King Turtles. We're going to call this the King Samurai, or somebody even suggested the Emperor Samurai, as it's a King Turtle. So Emperor kind of goes more in line with the Samurai. So whatever you want to call it, King Samurai, Emperor Samurai, whatever you want to call it, I really don't care. It's the newer versions of the Samurai, and I'm loving this dial. So case size on this, now I kind of basically just cheated and took the measurement of the bezel because it's very difficult to catch. I mean, with the case shape, as you can see, it's like there's the lugs are almost like a whole separate piece, even though it is all one piece, but it gives the look of like a separate piece. So it's difficult to catch a accurate measurement. So I just measured at the bezel. I don't know what else to do on this one. So 43.7 millimeter at the bezel. Lug to lug is about 48.5. You have drilled lugs, of course. Nice brushing pretty much on the entire lug flanks here. The only bits of polish you have are on the bezel and this little side piece here, and then on the bottom side. And then you have thickness of 13.3 millimeter. That's to, it's kind of more of the bezel, the inner bezel part here that actually protrudes up the highest point other than the sapphire or the Cyclops. So it's 13.3 thick regardless. I didn't measure the Cyclops. 22 millimeter lug width here. Comes on the silicone strap with the metal keepers. I'm sure you could do any sort of aftermarket bracelet on this. I personally think the strap code hexhead bracelet with its angular cuts and everything would work so good on this case. And I think a lot of other people are doing that as well. So screw down crown, obviously, screw down case back, 200 meter water resist. Nice knurling on that. Nice knurling on the bezel too. 120 click, very smooth, clean operation on this. And I know a lot of people are going to ask, does everything line up? You can make it line up. It doesn't line up from the factory. If you do a close-up there, you can actually see the inner bezel there is slightly to the left, and the bezel, that's in between clicks right there. So if I click it, settle it back, or go forward, it is definitely off. So that's all things that you can either learn to live with, like I always put it in half click, and then I mean, you have to look pretty close to, I think, see those dots being slightly off. Now, you could get that fixed if you wanted to, or you could just roll with it. It kind of is what it is. Let's focus on the positives here, guys. Check out that dial. That white squared off dial like that is just phenomenal looking. I'm really loving the look of this. Of course, it has like a monster style handset. Also a huge fan of that. Super legible, tons of lume. Oversized indices all over the place on this thing. You know they're going to be filled with some crazy green lume, which we will look at in a moment. Check out the tip of that seconds hand. It's all gold looking. Kind of ties in with the Divers 200 down there at the bottom of that print. Love the little splash of gold color on there. So you have kind of 3 or more colors really going on here, and I think it's a nice contrast. It makes it super legible, and I like it. It's enough interest to keep me looking for more finer details. But I think I've looked at them most. You also notice there, made in Japan down on the bottom. You're going to pretty much see that with all of these newer Seikos. You're going to see, I don't know if they're going to transition back to, the China or Malaysia or wherever the heck they were made. Pretty much everything that's coming through now says made in Japan. So hopefully they keep that production. I'm kind of digging that. I know it doesn't really make a difference, but it's kind of, I think it's just because of my age, and I grew up around a bunch of JDM cars. So I'm just kind of like a JDM-aholic as well as a Seiko-holic. So I think it's kind of cool. I dig it. So, of course, on the case back there, also says Made in Japan, 4R35, all that good stuff. There's a serial number. stainless steel sapphire crystal. No limited or special edition on this one. So it should be pretty readily available. I'm not sure if they're difficult to get. I don't think they are. This one was sent in by my buddy Mimo, Mimo's Jewelry in Long Beach, California. I will put a link to his store website in the description. Free USA shipping. He's my preferred #1 USA authorized dealer for Seiko. I've talked to so many people that have bought watches, and even bought watches from Mimo, and I've never heard a complaint. So he pretty much just does everything the way you would expect a purchase to go. So I can 100% recommend him. I think we already looked at the hang tag. Let's pop this guy on wrist. We'll do a side-by-side with the Omega, and then we'll do the Lume. And the only reason I'm doing it next to the Omega, it's not like I'm comparing it to the Omega. People want to see it. They're white dial divers. They want to see it, right? Well, for whatever reason in your mind that you want to see these two next to each other, if it's to try to justify, you know, the $500 watch or the $5,000 watch, that's whatever your prerogative is. So you can see right there on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. Oh man, white dial divers are so cool. I don't know. I think I've always liked them, and for the longest time, every time I put a white dial watch, regardless of if it was a diver or sport watch or whatever, I just didn't like the way they looked on my wrist. And then something clicked not that long ago, and now like I could fill my watch box with white dialed watches. I don't know what it is. I'm just in that phase right now with my collection. So, or my likes, I should say, not really my collection. My collection is not filled with white dialed watches. I really only have this one right here, the Omega Seamaster ceramic. So you can see right there, pretty similar sizes, really. So, you know, if you want to have a similar feel to your watch, you can do it pretty cheap. You can do it for, I mean, what's the retail on this? $5.95, you know, and then you use the ROB25 code, so Mimo knows that you were sent to his website from my channel. Then, you know, check it out, see what you can do. But, I mean, obviously, the Seamaster is a much nicer watch, but it better be. What is the retail on these? Like $5,200? Even if we're just going to compare retail to retail, like $600 to $5,200. Yeah, we're not going to get into that argument, guys, but they have sapphire. They have in-house movements. They have ceramic bezel inserts. They're both stainless steel. So when you just do a quick broad stroke of it, it kind of seems a little weird. But yeah, the Omega is obviously nicer. So let's kill the lights, check this Lume. If you like the white dialed Samurai, I say just get it, because it is everything that you think it would be. Now, to my naked eye, I can't tell that the dial's like white. I think the camera is going to pick up maybe a little bit better. I'll see what it looks like afterward, but in my camera and the viewfinder right now, I look at it and it almost looks like it's illuminating the dial a little bit, and that's not really what's happening. So if that is what you're seeing, that's not the way it's going to look to your naked eye. If you don't see that, then disregard everything I just said. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Big thanks to Mimo for sending this over. I'll catch you on the next vid. Pretty close. Back that up a little bit. There you go. So there's a look at the Seiko rocket. Blast off.